Hey you guys, hope you're doing well. I put a poll on YouTube and had a few responses about kind of what you guys would like to see more of, and one of the things you guys said was that you'd like to see more boats. So that's what we're doing today. This blue boat right here. I will put a link in the description for the reference photos if you can, and you can follow along too. I know it's pretty small in the video, but you can follow that way if you're painting along with me. Otherwise, yeah, I'll put a link so you can find the video itself. And other than that, I hope you enjoy the video. All right, guys, so I've already done up the drawing stage here. So if you wanted to see that, sorry, but that is done. There are just a few little, I tried to keep most of the, to do the details well that I wanted to show through. And then there are some parts that I've kind of left loose because I just don't want to do every single little thing that we see. The one thing I didn't add, which I thought, oh, I'll go ahead and do that on camera, is people. So in the original scene, there's no people. And so I thought that it would be nice to just have a couple people over in this sunlit area here. So I thought I'd do that. Don't need them to be a ton of detail, and then so there'll be one guy walking and another guy there with him. Maybe he can have a bag on or something. And they'll be there. And so then you will see their shadows kind of off to the side, and they'll be in amidst those. I just think it, I don't actually know if the scale works. It just seems fine. I thought about putting them here in the sunlight, but they would have been too big, and I wanted them to be like a small part. And honestly, I'm not that good at people that would have, it would have become quite a large figure. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to wet up my palette. So I will do that. Unfortunately, you can't see all my supplies. I'll try to kind of hold up as much as I can. So here's my palette. My son has been using it, or the last time I guess he was using it a fair bit. So a bunch of my paints are a little on the low side. And this red, all of these sat red for a long time without getting cleaned off. So I'm hoping that with time they'll wear off, but this is clean. They're just stained kind of there. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm using my Escoda Ultimo 14, size 14. I do have a bigger size, which I probably would normally use, but it always, the amount of water always kind of runs away on me. So I'm just sizing down a little bit just to make sure that I keep control of it, especially because I do find I'm not painting as much as I normally would, as much as I did at times. And so I do know with being a little bit out of practice, my control over the water is going to be slightly worse than it might be at times. Although I would say even at the best of times, I struggle with that big brush. So I'm doing the sky first. I'll go right over some of these darker blue pieces, but I want to preserve the whites here. So I'll try to paint around those. Not sure how well this is showing up, so that can be covered. How well this is showing up, if you can see where the water is and isn't. But it'll be definitely more clear as we actually put color in there. That can get all covered. Down to here. So that's everything wet. I just need to go back, and it dries so fast. Unfortunately, it's very hot here, and so we're running AC and stuff, and that really dries the air out. So I mean, it would be similar if you lived in a drier climate. So it's good to be aware of how fast things dry so that you can then kind of act accordingly. All right, so I'm going to be using ultramarine blue and mixing up a nice creamy amount of paint, and we'll be putting it in right at the top. Beautiful. And then I'm just gonna wash it down. And I'm just dipping my brush in the water a little bit, getting some of that color off. Try to get around here, make sure that the blue makes its way all the way down in there. I have, not sure if you've noticed, but in the picture there is kind of a, like a smokestack or something here. I just took that out. I'm not actually sure why. In the drawing stage, I guess I did it. And then just a second ago, I thought, oh, should I add that in? And I thought, no, I'll leave it out. So I think it looked better. I guess I thought it looked better without, and I still think it probably does. So, yeah. All right. So there's the sky. Just picking up some of these edges. Trying to get rid of some of these drips, and then we'll let that dry. We'll get into the boat. So there hasn't been much drying time for that, but I just realized that some of these things are like these trees back here. It would be better to do them while things are wet here. So what I've done here is just taken a little bit of the blue we had. I'm putting a little bit of sap green in there, which is gonna give this distant green, like green in the distance, trees, foliage. I'm using the same brush. I could probably switch down, go down a brush, but we'll do it. And that's probably good. This side is a building and it's a more hard edge, so I'm gonna leave that. But I do wanna maybe just clean up the edge, just right here. There we go. Yeah. So now I'll properly let it dry. All right, so as that dries a little more properly, I'm gonna start doing the ground down here. So for that, I'm gonna be using yellow ochre. Try to keep all my warm colors in this kind of stained well. Yeah, so I'm just gonna throw that in. I'm also gonna be using some raw umber. I'm just kind of mixing both of those. I do wanna keep the light part quite light, and I'll do a little bit of this yellow as well. My paint is drying quite fast, so I think I will move quickly. I want it all to be fairly light, because then we can put the shadows in after. And we'll go right back to here, all the way over where their feet are. Something like that. Yeah, wow, it is drying quickly. I'd almost be tempted to just use spray and spray it all, but unfortunately with having started already, at this point I think I just carry on. Yeah. So we'll treat that all as one layer. Just trying to add in a little more strength of yellow there. And then some more. So this is just raw umber. I'm just going to do a little bit of this while it's dry. While it's still wet, sorry. If there's kind of these, I don't even know what these are, but just add in some of that texture so that it doesn't have to have those hard edges. And I got rid of that electrical box thing, the green thing. I don't even know. I wish I probably should know what that is, but I don't. just adding in a tiny bit of neutral tint to go even darker on a few spots here. All of this I want it to be wet and wet. Don't want these things to kind of like be really hard edges. So just trying to do that. I really wish I could have gotten that. I'll have to do that on the second wash when I go in to do the shadow. But that will allow some of this. Too hard. There, that's probably good for now. Let that dry and then deal with the rest. All right, so I think I want to deal with these two walls before I get into the boat. So for those, I'm just going to take this blue that I already have. I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna in there to gray it up. Yeah, I'm going to have to remix. I think it's not going to be enough color. So burnt sienna, ultramarine. All right, and then see if I can bring that edge back up to where it was supposed to be. I'll just paint right over the windows. This is, I've switched to my Escoda Versatile, I'm not sure, size 12. So I'm down a brush. I'll probably use this for now most of what is left until I get into the details. I'm just going to go right over all of this because we'll probably add more color in thereafter. Use the same color over here for this wall. Nice and light. So this is like the sunny part of the wall. Try to leave these guys. If I can, let's see. All right, and then this is kind of similar shape. Maybe I should have left it white, come to think of it. I don't know. Would have looked very bright. If I do shadows in now, I mean this gray will pop like it's light. I'll just put a little bit of yellow in there. I think there's kind of some yellow in the actual picture, and I just wanted to kind of, I think a little bit of pop of vague color will look nice there. Okay, there is kind of a red something up here. I'll just go ahead and hint at that shape, although that is wet and so it's coming down. Probably should have left it. I think I still will. I think I'll try to salvage that. I don't want it to bleed into the other part. There we go. All right, and yeah, let those parts dry, then we'll get into the boat. All right, so I think we can start working on the boat. We'll work on this area first, and then we'll kind of move down, and hopefully the edges should be dry by the time we get there. So I'm gonna mix up similar gray to what we just had doing those walls. So burnt sienna, ultramarine. I want it to be nice and light, so a little more water. Sorry about that, bumped that. A little more water. Yeah, probably lighter than that, although it will dry, of course, lighter than it is. I'm just trying to pick up a bunch of, trying not to add a lot more color and just use what's there, because as I add more water, it will then lighten more too. That is blue there. This is white. It's a bit of a dark shadow under there. We will show that later. And it comes all the way to here. And these, I mean, we can deal with these later with a smaller brush. That is probably good. I guess if I wanted, like, this white should be more that color. So So I guess I'll go over and do that. I do think that should dry before I get into the blue. Otherwise that white stripe will get lost. It'll all kind of bleed into itself because it's all wet. So that's probably good for that. We'll hit it with shadows after. I can go in and add this teal box, the second one that we didn't get rid of. So it's green, that is cobalt turquoise, I think. And then I'm gonna add some burnt sienna and a little bit of neutral tint for the dark rust part down here, and just kind of go like that. Let them bleed together. All right, so here we go. We're gonna actually get into the boat. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wet, there's a spot at the back that kind of has this like light reflection going on. So I'm gonna wet that so that that stays lighter. I'm gonna be using this cerulean, I forget what it's called. Is it cerulean blue? So I'll mix with that. Cerulean blue chromium. I believe that is what it's called. So this is going to be a bunch of wet and wet. Some rust. Try to get those in while it's wet. More of the cerulean blue. Okay. Want to keep that rust spot. All right, so this is where as far as we'll go with this. And I'm gonna add in some cobalt blue. Maybe I should be using ultramarine. I'll switch to ultramarine instead. Let that kind of bleed in there. Unfortunately, kind of lost this stripe here. See if I can pick some of that up. Yeah, that worked all right. Try to maintain the stripe over there and work my way along. Try to get in there while this is still wet. It's getting a little bit messy. Work my way across the boat. Up to here somewhere. All the way to the end. Okay, and then there's this giant rusty spot, which is actually going to cause me some issues because it's gonna have to go like that, but then that means I have to jump down, which is fine. So now I jump down to here, do the blue there, try to maintain that stripe in between. And then again, we've got rust color coming in. So I'm just trying to keep all the, this is a lot of active rusty edges. Keep that down there. This is just burnt sienna, straight burnt sienna. Do that. And I think I could be working to try to darken it as I go along, but honestly, I'm gonna struggle just to keep this all under control the wet parts. So we'll see how we go. If I have time and I can keep these edges wet, oh, this should be right up to here, then I will, I'll look to darken the brown going down. There's that. Not so crazy happy about that line. It's not super, let's try. We'll see if we can get that line a little cleaner. That was not really successful, I would say. A little more burnt sienna. Going down, going down. Work over here before this all gets dry. think we'll leave most of the darkening to do on a second wash. Possibly, I think I'll hit this part and a little bit of here. I can probably do that. So, neutral tint. I'll turn my palette like this. You can see it a little better. Neutral tint, burnt sienna, a little more neutral tint, and we're just gonna go like this and kind of down across the boat like that. Do that while it's still wet. Okay, I don't want to do anything here because it's actually quite nice that it's a little lighter right there. And do that again. This is getting quite messy and wet, and I just need to stop pretty soon here and let it all dry. So we'll leave that, let it dry. All right, so let's deal with the shadow down here now. So for that, I'm just going to be doing a darker version of that burnt sienna and ultramarine that I did earlier. So we're just going for more color, less water. Still need a little bit of water, but it's going to be definitely darker. And I need a lot of it because we are covering quite a bit of space. That's probably good. A little more blue possibly, and possibly a little more water. All right. And that is coming along here. So this is where we're going to try to work some wet and wet as well. I feel like that needs to be a little more blue, a little more blue in that gray. So that's across. Again, a little more blue, just mixing up a little more as we go. That across there. Gotta cover up that spot we didn't get. This kind of shadow part going here. And then here, just there. And now we need to mix up a bunch and move quickly. Nice and quick. Oh, that's too much water. The water's kind of running off to one side. There. Go like that. More blue. It definitely looks more blue in the picture. There's more blue in the shadow. So try to add some more of that. Definitely, I also feel like I should have gone to a bigger brush, but we're done now. So now I'm just gonna try to add in, actually I think I'll just do neutral tint and add in some of these spots. So it's almost too late. Oh yeah, it's still wet. Just add in a few of these kind of like spots here. A little more texture there. There. Okay, we'll add in, I think we'll add in some more lines there later. I just want to kind of hint at texture. yeah, it's probably good for the shadow area there, I would say. Which means I think now we'll move on to adding in some shadows on the sides, and then we'll get into finishing the boat out with the details in shadow. So for the windows, they're actually kind of like a reddish brown. So I'm just gonna take what we were just working with, and I'm gonna do the square at least. Oh, my brush is not. So I'm switching now to, this is a Skoda Perla, and I'm just gonna kind of do that whole, cover the whole square, and then we'll add in the mesh, or what do you call it? Crisscross. Shoot, what do you call that? Checker kind of pattern after. Okay. It's kind of a door back here. I think we'll just deal with a bunch of these random shapes down there in one go. I do need to pick up some of this color, so I'm just grabbing a rag and just drying the brush off so I can pick up some of this extra water. Let that dry. Oopsie. And then on the other side, I'm going to use the same kind of gray we've mixed up. And I'm just going to add in some of this shadow work over here. So we got some really interesting shadows over here. Here and kind of down. Nice to keep, they in the picture they're, you know, a bunch of distinct shapes, but they're all kind of ultimately stick together as one big shadow shape. Okay, there's that. There is this post, which I'll just go ahead and do right from the top. Almost wish that I hadn't put it there because it's clashing right with that dude's head. And then there's kind of this shape this way, kind of edge of a building. I will go in, I'm just taking some burnt sienna that I have left on the palette, and I think I'll just kind of make some roofs back here, indicate some roofs. Yeah. All right. Go ahead and do this. It's kind of a door thing here, and then we'll do some of these. We'll do this, tackle this conglomeration of shapes over here. I am not really looking for much except for a bunch of colors going together. So I'm going for some blues, some raw umber browns, and then neutral tint. We got kind of a pipe sticking up. I think a little bit of lighter brown would be nice there. Now some dark. Bring out some more shapes. Okay. Something like that. All right. So now I think we can add in a few things. I actually am pretty happy with the boat and I don't want to overdo it. So I'm going to try just to be quite careful about how I tackle adding more in. So what I'm going to do is wet up just kind of the space that I want to darken. And I'm going to go neutral tint, burnt sienna, and I'm going to just put it into the wet space kind of like I would on the sky. I'm just looking to add an even darker kind of tone going in there. Round that out a little bit. Don't want to overdo it, so yeah, all the way to here. Add some dark in there. Just using a dry brush, pick up some color there. And a little bit along the bottom there. Perfect. All right, we'll leave that. We can add in this dark, it's kind of a dark stripe. So for that, I'm just gonna take, I've just got a bunch of blue here. Take some more blue. I'm gonna go neutral tint and blue. And we will try to keep this nice and smooth. It's probably darker, well, maybe, it's okay. I was gonna say it's darker than I want, but I would say the picture's kind of like that. And then there is a really, it's far lighter and subtler line just at the top here. Yeah. And we've got this railing. Oopsie. Well, don't want it to overpower anything. So just do that. It's definitely, the posts are thicker in the picture. Yeah, I'm not happy with that. Let's see if I can try to pick that up quickly before it dries. Try that again. Come over and do the windows while we wait for those to dry. So this is just a dark blue kind of color. A little too much water in this mixture, so I'm just picking up a little bit. Okay. And I'm just gonna work on mixing some of this blue with this burnt sienna to mix up a gray. I don't want this gray to be quite as blue, so that's looking good. And I'm just gonna use, like I've just dabbed the paint off the brush so that the brush is dry, and I'll bring that color right down there so that that edge is slightly soft. Same color-ish going over here. And we'll do this kind of corner. Do this blue, not sure exactly what it is. Door. That's there. Go burnt. Well, no, let's do, this is the cerulean blue chromium, so the same as we did on the boat itself. And we're just gonna go ahead and do this crane. We'll add in the dark shortly. But for now, we just want the overall shape. And I don't know, maybe we can outline this railing. It'll be a little tricky, but with some negative painting, keep a railing in here. Okay, so a little bit of blue up here. There's also some stairs right in here. And then, so I'm just using a bunch of the same kind of bluey gray mixture that I've got. So I'm going to do the same for up here for these. Okay, that's still drying. Can add in a little bit of this. That. Darker area. It's actually, there's a bunch of quite light things, so I'm just trying to indicate them. And then this thing, same color. Just come down here, and then this is kind of like this bridge. And then using the tip of the brush, we'll try to get this thin railing going on. There's a little boom coming out this way. A few little things on there. Here, 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 here. And there's quite a bit going on here. We got a little like dish thing. This. Lines and supports for this thing. We've got kind of a blue shape here. Not even sure what that is. Kind of brown on the bottom. That will work for that. A little bit of dark here on the edge of this door. Give a hint of a shadow there. Shadow here. Okay. A little bit of something there, here. There. Very dull red for these life preservers. So I'm not actually sure. I really should remind myself of which colors I've got here. I'm thinking this is like carmine maybe. I think it is. A cool red. So we got that. There. Okay. There's a little bit of dark line up here. kind of butchered that. I need a little more dark, a little more blue. Okay, tiny little thing that goes there. And then there's a little bit of railing up here. And up here a little bit. There's a line that comes off the back of the boat this way. And then drops down. And there's a little spool on it, which can be darker, I think. And then it continues down. There's also a line that drags off here. It would have connected to the box, that green box. So I'm just gonna take it off and bring it down here. And I'm gonna also darken up this railing. Okay. I would also like to get a little more blue pop there, but I don't know if I want to risk it because there is a chance that I'll just kind of overdo the color. I just kind of need the end of this. There's also a few these little holes here. There's these pipes coming down. Okay. Definitely getting close, I would say. There is quite a bit more darkness under this part of the boat, but we don't need to necessarily capture exact same level of darkness. What we can do for this blue, we'll just wet up a space, and I'm going to put ultramarine. We'll go like that. Just give ourselves a little more pigment. Okay, and then I'm going to dry my brush, take off all the water, and quickly pick this up before it goes and messes anything up. That's a little, yeah, I would say that's probably good. We'll do those windows, and we can possibly, I'll add a little more dark down here as well. So I'll wet up the area, neutral tint, and I'm just gonna basically go straight neutral tint. And then wet my brush, use that to do that. All right. Let me just go a little bit blue there, mix that in with what we've got down there. Don't want that line to be quite so hard, so I'll pick up that. All right, so we can now deal with these windows, which I'm just doing neutral tint for that, and we'll just kind of outline. And then this way. All right, this building doesn't have much to it besides that. I could add another wash, which I might do. Once it's dry, I'll maybe just do one more coat on it to kind of blend it back into the background. But I would say we're getting really close to being done. Maybe add in a few more details here. I will do these guys. We're gonna go, one guy's gonna be wearing red. So, and I'm just doing basically these like stereotypical, I would say, watercolor people, where there's not a lot to them. there as figures. And so the red is in there because we got blue, we got yellow. I think that's nice. And then I don't know what to do the other guy. I might just do an orange. It's a nice complement. I often think, like, I'll sometimes add flags, which we could do here, flag or two. But when I do, I try to make them, like, if there's a bunch of blue, I'll make them red. I'm just trying to add in some of the colors that aren't here so we can kind of complement, have some different colors going on. So leave that. Could do a little flag up here. Okay, we're gonna want some birds, kind of harbor deal, so we're gonna have quite a few of them in the collection. A few over here. And I think I'll just darken this a little bit. That looks good otherwise. Got kind of a dark spot in here, if we want that. Some darky spots there. Bit of a line going on down here, if we care. The bottom of these posts meets up with a bit of a box. This bottom of this box, a little more shadow. Okay, we need shadows under these guys. Probably a little lighter than that. They need to follow the same shadow as everything else. I would even, they're quite close to the wall, so we'll do that. Kind of see their shadow right up against the wall. Just trying to pick up a little bit of this color. Okay, a little too much. We'll add in their heads after. This wall, I'm now gonna just run another super watery wash over it. Go like that. Just kind of smudges those windows a little bit. I just remembered and realized that I haven't done the dark part up here on this crane. So we'll go, I just added some neutral tint to the blue that I already had. And I'm just gonna try keep preserving all these, this railing again. I have to do this again, dang it. Okay. All right, now for a few things down here. I'm just using what color I already had here and just gonna that. I want some lines leading into kind of the subject, which we already have. We've already got some lines going on, like these lines here. Oh, and my boys have just woken up, so I will have to stop. All right, well, my boys woke up. Had to go do some stuff with them, and then yeah, I'm now free for a tiny bit. So we'll finish out this painting. So I'm just adding a few things like these guys' heads. Obviously is always helpful for people to have heads. We'll add a little bit of dark on this side. Kind of lost his bag, not that it really matters. There you go, he's got a bag. Shadow color, I kind of ended up smudging these guys' shadows quite a bit. So I'm just darkening that a bit. So that is there. I'm gonna just do this. And there. A little more dark color here. All right, those are already there. Trying to add a bunch of little details. There are some darker shapes back here, but I don't really want to bog things down too much with a bunch of extra stuff going on. I'll just darken this line a little here. That line is fine. Looks like there are maybe some lines going this way, and there's some things here. Lines going here. Okay. We've got the birds. Oh yeah, I wanted to add a little bit of like sprinkle spray, whatever, splatter, a little bit of splatter. So for that, if you haven't seen me do this before, I'm just going to be doing up kind of our shadow color. So blue, that's ultramarine, burnt sienna, and then I'll just be using my thumb and we'll just, wow. So that went places. Not normally what I want to do. So I'm just gonna use a cloth and pick up some of this color. Not supposed to be there, not supposed to be there, even up here. That'll all just kind of fade away. Yeah, that was some very aggressive splatter. So we'll try that again. This time I'm doing just into the same mix some brown. I'm going to turn it sideways this time and just do some lighter flicking. And then I'll do a bit of neutral tint. Same thing. Go down here in this dark area where the neutral tint can shine. I'd rather not get those kind of like big solid lines. This is quite messy. We're just looking for texture here. Down in this space. I don't mind having a little bit, honestly. I mean, I think that the texture on the ground really helps differentiate it from the rest. So primarily I want it there. I think some in this dark shadow area would be nice here. That I would almost, like I could almost do some on the ship, but I wouldn't want to do much. Just maybe down here. I'm going to use this cloth to kind of keep that. There we go. So a little bit down there, kind of like that. Okay, and I'll just do a tiny bit more, even darker. Okay. Pretty happy with that. I think at this point, honestly, I'm ready to call it a day and finish it out. I'll just sign it and I think we'll be done. Thanks guys, I always appreciate you guys, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.